The Gifts of the Magi, O. Henry, 1862 to 1910. O. Henry, which is William Sidney Porter, was an American short story writer. After working as a pharmacist, drafter, journalist, and banker, he became a writer and wrote many collections of short stories that would become world famous. O. Henry is well known for his writing dialogue and surprise ending that would involve in creative or unusual solution. $1.87, that was all, and 60 cents of it was in pennies. Pennies saved one or two at a time by bulldozing the grocer and the vegetable man and the butcher until one cheeks burned with a silent imputation of paroxysm with that such close dealing implied. 3 times they had counted it, $1.87. The next day it would be Christmas. There was clearly nothing to do but flop down on a shabby little couch and howl, so Della did it, but which instigated the moral reflection of life that is made up of sobs, sniffles, and smile, with sniffle predominating. While the mistress of the home is gradually subsiding from the first stage to the second, take a look at the home, a furnished flat of $8 per week. It did not exactly beg a description, but it certainly had that word on the knockout of the fantasy squad. In the vestibule below was a little box into which no letter could go, and an electric button which with no mortal finger could cause a ring. Also, impersonating the sentinel was a card bearing the name Mr. Tim Dillingham used. The Dillingham has been frozen to freeze during the power period of prosperity when its possessor had been paid $30 per week. Now, when the income had shrunk to $20 though, they were thinking seriously of contracting to the modest and assuming D. But wherever Mr. James Dillingham Hughes came home and reached his flat above, he called Jim, and greatly hugged Mrs. James Dillingham Young. I already introduced you as Della, which is all very good. Della finished her cry and attended to her cheeks with a power rag. She stood by the window and looked out dully at the gray cat walking in the gray fence in the gray backyard. Tomorrow it would be Christmas Day, and she had only $1.87 into which to buy Jim a present. She had been saving every penny she could for months, and this results $20 a week wouldn't go so far. Expenses had been greater than she had calculated. They always are. Only $1.87 is to buy a present for Jim, her Jim. Many a happy hour she has spent planning for something nice for him, something fine or rare and sterling, something just a little bit near to being worthy the honor of being with Jim. There was a pier glass between the windows of the room. Perhaps you would even see a pier glasses on an $8 flat. Every thin and a very agile person may be observing his reflection in the rapid sequence of the longitudinal strips, obtained by a fairly accurate conception of his look. Della, being slender, had mastered the art. Suddenly, she whirled from the window and stood by the glass. Her eyes were shining brilliantly, and her face had lost its color within 20 seconds. Rapidly, she pulled down her hair and let it fall to its full length. Now, there were 2 possessions of the James Dillingham Youngs in which they both took a mighty pride. One was Jim Gold's watch that had been his father and his grandfather's. The other was Della hair, had the Queen of Sheba lived in the flat called the A-shaft. Della would have let her hair hang out the window someday to dry just to decorate Her Majesty's jewels and gifts. Had King Solomon been the janitor, with all his treasure piled in the basement, Jim would have to pull out his watch every time he passed, just to see him pluck at his beard from envy. So now, Dana's beautiful hair fell about her rippling, shining like a cascade brown waters. It reached below her knee, and made itself almost a garment to her, and then she did it up again nervously and quickly. Once she faltered for a minute and stood still, while the 2 splashed on a worn red carpet. On her went that old racket, and went her old brown hat. With a whirl of skirts with a brilliant sparkle in her eyes, she fluttered out the door and down the stair into the street, where she stopped the sign to read, "Mephosler, hair goes in all kinds." One fine up, and Della ran to collect herself, panting, "Madame Large, too white, chilly, hardly look like from Sophony." "Will you buy my hair?" asked Della. "I buy hair," says Madame. Take your hat off and let us sign and look at it. Down rippled the brown cascade. $20, said Madame, lifting the mask with a practiced hand. Give it to me quick, said Della. Oh, and the 2 next hours stripped by on the rosy wigs, for against the hash deputer, she was rocketing the stores of Jim's presence. She found at last surely it had been made for Jim and no one else. It was like no one other in the many of the stores, and she had turned to all of them inside out, with the platinum fob changed simple, and just tasted in design, probably proclaiming its value by substance alone, and not meticulously ornamentations, as all good things should do. It was even worthy to watch. As soon as she saw it, she knew it must be Jim's. It was like him, cloudless, and value. The description applied to both. $20 they took from her, and she hurried home with 80 cents. And that acclaimed his watch. Jim would be probably anxious about the time in his company. Grand as the watch as, she sometimes looked at it, and the slide on account of the old leather strap she used in place of the chain. When daylight reached home and her intoxication gave away a little person and reason, she got out her curly irons and lighted a gas that went to work repairing the ravages made by generosity added to love, which is always a tremendous tax. Dear friends, a mammoth task. Within 40 minutes, her head was covered with tiny, close-lying curls that made her look wonderfully like a trying schoolboy. She looked at her reflection in the mirror long, carefully, and critically. If Jim doesn't kill me, she said to herself, before he take a second look at me, he'll say I look like Coney Island chorus girl. But what could I do? Oh, I could do with $1.87. At 7 o'clock, the coffee was made, and the frying pan went on the back of the stove, hot and ready to cook the chops. Jim was never late. Della dabbed the fob chain in her hand and sat on the corner of the table near the door as he always entered. Then she heard his stare down on the first flight. She turned white for just a moment. She had a habit of saying little silent prayer about the simply say everything day, and now she whispered, "Please God, make him think I'm still pretty." The door opened and Jim stepped in, and when he closed it, he looked thin and very serious. Poor fellow, he was only 22, and to be a burden with a family. He needed a new overcoat, and he was without gloves. Jim stopped inside the door, immovable as the setter of the scent of quail. His eyes were fixed upon Della. There was an impression in them that she could never read. It terrified her. It was not anger, nor surprise, nor disapproval, nor horror, and the sentiments that she had ever prepared for. He simply stared at her fixedly, for a particular expression on his face. Della wriggled off the table and went to him. "Jim, darling," she cried, "don't look at me that way. I had my hair cut off and sold because I couldn't have lived through Christmas without giving you a present. It grew again. You won't mind, will you? I just had to do it. My hair grows awfully fast. Says Christmas, Jim, and let's be happy. You don't know what a nice and what a beautiful nice gift I got for you." "You cut off your hair?" asked Jim, laboriously, as if he had not arrived at the patent fact yet that is the hardest mental labor. "Cut it off and sew it," said Della. "Don't you like me just as well, anyhow? I'm me without my hair, am I?" Jim looked out of the room curiously. "You say your hair is gone?" he said, with an air almost idiocy. "You didn't look for it," said Della. "It's sold, I tell you. Sold and gone too. It's Christmas Eve, boy. Be good to me, and it went for you. Maybe the hairs of my head were numbered." She went on a series of witnesses, "but nobody could ever count my love for you. Shall I put the chops on, Jim?" Out of the trance, Jim seemed quickly to wake. He unfolded his Ella, and for 10 seconds let us regard a discreet squinty tone from the sequential object in her directions. $8 a week, or $1,000,000 a year. What's the difference? A maternity or a gift would be the wrong answer. A magi brought valuable gift, and that was not among them. This dark assertion we eliminated later on. Jim drew a package from his overcoat pocket and threw it upon the table. "Don't make any mistake, Dell," he said, "about me. I don't think there's anything in the way of a haircut or shave or a shampoo that could make me like my girl any less. But if you unwrap that package, you may see why you had me going for a while at first." White fingers and Minible tore at the string and paper, and a skeptical dream of joy, and then, alas, a quick fundament turned into historical tears and wails, necessitating into the immediate employment of all comforting powers in the Lord of Flat. And there lay the columns, a set of columns, side and back, that Della had worshipped long in the broad window. Beautiful columns, pure tortoiseshell, and jeweled rims, just the same to wear the beautiful vanished hair. They were expensive columns, she knew, and her heart had simply craved and yearned for them without a list of home possessions. And now they were hers, but the treasures that the Moor and government under were gone. But she heard them to her bosom, and at length she was able to look at dim eyes and smile and says, "My hair grows so fast, Jim." And then Della leaped with a little sigh of cat and cried. Jim had not yet seen his beautiful present. She held to him eagerly upon her palm. The dual precious metal seemed to flash with reflection on a bright and ardent spirit. "Isn't it a dandy, Jim? I hunted all over town to find it. You have to look at the time 100 times a day ago. Give me your watch. I want to see how it looks on it." Instead of obeying, Tim tumbled down on the couch and put his hand under the back of his head and smiled. "Well," he said, "let's put our Christmas present day away and keep them away for a while. They're too nice to use this as presents. I sold the watch to get money to buy you combs, and I suppose people are the chopped on." The Magi, were wise men, wonderfully wise men, who brought gifts to the big in the manager. They invented the art of giving Christmas presents. Being wise, their gifts were no doubt the wisest one, possibly bearing the privilege of enchanting the case of the precaution. And here I have the harmony related to you an eventful chorus of two foolish children in the flat who most unwisely sacrificed for each other in the greatest treasure of the house. Being the last word to the wise in these days, left it all to the gifts, they were the bestest. Of all who will receive and will give gifts, such are the wisest, every day they are the wisest. They are the Magi.